Morning, Senator Jacqui Lambie, and thank you for joining us at Australian Veteran News.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you very much. Love your articles going out there too, mate.
Oh, do you? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's very kind.
It's quite impressive. Yeah.
We've been
I've
pretty
learned
busy.
a couple of things. I've learned a couple of things. I'd forgotten a couple of things. I thought, oh yeah, that's right.
It's been quite well received, I must say, and it's really nice the sort of response we've been getting, and obviously it's helped us get access to you as well. So that's a big bonus to have this conversation today.
I think a lot of people out there really struggle with the legalities of it all, so I think if you're using like your news and mine where we can break it down so they actually understand it, makes a significant difference to them and actually gets them a little bit more interested and, starting to put awareness out there to say this is what they're going to put through Parliament, this isn't going to do us any good, and trying to get them on the front foot without that being put in and them going, who the bloody hell did that? I didn't know this was going through. So, because they're pretty sneaky like that, mate.
And we've got to live with it for a long time once they've done it. So
they are shocking. If they, it's like Defence Pay when they said we're not going to give you a pay rise that you wanted. That was done on the night before the Melbourne Cup at about 10:30 or 11. And it's like when they, when the interim commissioner, when they announced that was done at just after 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. I mean, if it's such a good thing, why aren't you out there in the news at 9 o'clock selling it from morning until night? Well, if that's not cover up on showing you what's going on, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Okay. So, one of the things we're going to talk about today, Jacqui, is the call for a Royal Commission into veteran suicide. And as you pointed out, it's a topic that quite a lot of people in the veteran communities, especially at the grassroots level, are very concerned about. The appointment of a commissioner instead of having a Royal Commission, and have had major concerns about why are we taking these steps and is it going to be good enough and far enough, given the statistics that we look at are absolutely frightening, and the general community, I suspect, probably aren't really fully aware of how serious the problem is, and it is a very, very serious problem. And it's one that deserves to be addressed. Of any of the things we've had Royal Commissions in recent times, this is one of them, I would think.
Yeah, and the other thing is, they never started collecting this data. It's only been through public pressure and obviously me smacking them around for the last 7 years to say you still can't give me a figure on veteran suicide, both in defence and DVA, and they're sure as hell, and they don't even want to talk about those who have attempted to take their own lives, mate, because that's even bigger. That's massive of what's going on out there, and actually do not succeed. And I'm very grateful that they don't succeed. Don't get me wrong, I am one of those people, but I can tell you now, I won't get to go and tell my bloody story in front of this interim commissioner or the commissioner. Because I lived through it. I'm not one of the dead. So I don't know how you bring down the dead so they can tell you right out of their mouth exactly, how the department treated them or how they were treated in defence that led them to doing what they did. And their mum and dads, they can only speak from what they saw their son. They cannot speak from that. A lot of them are still trying to connect. Why did DVA do this? They know that they were heavily involved in why their son or their daughter have taken their own life, but that's about as far as it goes. So, when you're not opening it right up to listen to many of us that have already served and have been through this, or you're saying we're going to talk about it from this date to this date, but anyone that's taken their own lives in the last 2 years, no thanks, don't show up. Who does that? Not a bloody Royal Commission, mate. And that's my problem. And I can tell you now, this is a Royal Commission, that is not. It's not independent. That's the first thing. The commissioner can have its money reduced. They can be sacked. They can do all that at the tail of the government. It doesn't need a vote to be able to do that. So basically, the government is controlling the commissioner. That's how it works. And when we already know that the problems in DVA, that some of those that have been caused are former officers from the military now being put into high places in DVA and have actually made it worse. And then you go and put an interim commissioner in that's former IG-ADF and you're not bloody institutionalised. Well, blow me over, mate. Jesus, come on.
Yeah.
You know what else shits me? They didn't do this over pink bats. They didn't do this over banking. They didn't do this over aged care. So what? We're not as important as all of that. There's suicides going on a weekly basis and we're not important enough to have a bloody Royal Commission. It is cover-ups at its very best, and that's what's going on here.
It's worse than cover-ups, though, Jacqui, because I think, as you pointed out just before, DVA doesn't really have a clue, or the Defence doesn't have a clue, actually, where some of our veterans are, and they've only started thinking about putting something in the census to try and put the picture together. And we talk about. We put a lot of focus on the younger, on the more contemporary veterans now, but I think there must be generations of veterans, and I know you and I served in a similar era, probably about our era and maybe a little bit before, that may have fallen through the cracks in this, and they're still living their lives and probably trying to come to terms with things that happened many years ago, and they're not really quite in that. That Vietnam era, and not quite into this recent times of peacekeeping in Afghanistan and all that sort of thing. So there's still relevant people in there who are potentially ignored, and we don't know what the real statistics are. And if there are problems that are not necessarily related to going to war, as I spoke to Kevin Humphreys earlier this week in an interview about his Core Infinitus program, relating to veteran suicide. He talked about his attempt and his attempt of his own life, and it wasn't because of, as he said, the rockets and the valleys and the trauma of war. It's because of institutionalised bullying and issues like that. So, we need to understand it before we can deal with it properly.
Yeah, and they won't, so they're not going to bring up and listen to all the complaints and that and all the things, the 1,000 people that we've had come through our office. I'll never get to explain what's happened to them, whether it's been abuse that's only tipped them over the edge, whether it's just been a complete and utter knockdown, and hello, nothing to see here from the IGADF, which is quite frequent. We get a lot of that. We don't want to deal with that. We're all about the institution first.
Yeah.
Mate, it blows me away when you're putting a former military person into this job, when you gave me a guarantee, that 2 ministers gave me a guarantee that they would not do that, after explaining to them what angst this would cause the veteran community, and that straight away you would lose your credibility and any trust, the little bit of trust that we may have had left to say that a Royal Commission would work and your a commissioner would work, and then you go and throw this out at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and you put somebody that served in the military.
Yeah, and I guess, look, I mean, from a public perspective, for people who don't understand the military culture and those issues that you're raising about independence and so forth, you put a former brigadier into that position, regardless of their qualifications. And, she's got Bernadette Voss has got a lot of qualifications, but when you have a look at some of the people who are appointed to head royal commissions, there's another level as well, isn't there?
There's a whole new level, isn't it, mate? They're the big boys. That's exactly right. And I'll tell you what you don't have in those same royal commissions, you do not have people like, you don't have people like John Setka being put into the one on the unions. You do not have the Pope being the commissioner, the royal commissioner on child sexual institutions, abuse. Yeah. Sorry, I can't get that out this morning. So this is a real farce. This is a kick in the guts for everybody out there that served, everybody that is struggling to put their claims through, and they're months behind. They're waiting 12 or 13 months. They can't get into open arms.
I think we're measuring it in years now, Jacqui. It's getting close to that,
Yeah, so you tell me, why aren't we good enough? Those people who have served, why aren't we good enough to have a Royal Commission? Why aren't we good enough? Those of us, and there's many of them out there that have put their lives on the line, why aren't we worthy of a Royal Commission? Why are we getting half a hack job going on here that's going to be run by the bloody government? And that's the truth of the matter. And we've got a conflict of interest with a former person that was with the IGADF, is now going to be heading up as the interim commissioner. So I've got no faith left, mate. There's nothing left for me.
Jacqui, why do you think Scott Morrison is so insistent that the Royal Commission is against it? I mean, there's enough people putting their voices behind it. I think maybe part of it is that the general public awareness is not very strong on this matter, and it's potentially an inconvenience for the government. I don't know. What have you got a sense of his position and why he's so strong on it?
Yeah, I do, mate. First of all, he's got no idea. He's completely out of contact, like the minister is, Chester, of the people that me being up there that 7 or 8 years and up there telling stories over and over again. The public is aware of what's going on, and the public are very much behind having a Royal Commission. And I think for him, he doesn't want all this playing out in the arena. There's nowhere in history, apart from once over black and white TV, mate, that any government has ever gone in and put a Royal Commission on their own departments. So I say this to Morrison, bloody grow a set, mate, because we don't want a Royal Commission. We bloody well need it. We need it. We need that Royal Commission, and we're losing them, and we're going to continue losing them. And like I said, this COVID-19's put even more pressure on them. They can't get in to see their medical practitioners. It's breaking down family units that were already heavily under the financial burden and under trying to get their claims and that through. This is just a bloody disaster, mate. And I honestly believe, I reckon this will actually lift the suicide rate.
Yeah, well, I think that's quite likely, and it's been suggested that it'll just potentially lift the suicide rate in the general population anyway, and the veteran community is particularly vulnerable to this problem. And, you know, we need to stop it, but we also need to acknowledge the bravery of the families who actually are calling for it. And I think there's some sort of myth out there that, you know, a Royal Commission might put them through some additional trauma and they might not get the results that they want. But I think ethically they want it, and they understand the risks, and they want to participate in it. So I don't know what
I can tell you now, it is part of the healing process. You need to get it out there. I haven't quite finished with my healing process under 10 years of putting up with DVA shit. I can tell you right now, and what it did to my kids. I want to have my say, just like many others out there, mate. And that's the last bit of my healing process. I want people to hear what they're doing to us, and they need to hear. So if they think that's going to make us any worse, they are bloody well delusional. And it's just excuse after excuse why they won't have a Royal Commissioner. And none of those excuses are worth the oxygen that they've been spoken of. Really, seriously, they are disgusting.
Is there anything that could be done to make this commission arrangement work? Is there anything that could be done to improve it?
No, there's no way. There is no way unless you have an independent body which will take a Royal Commission. Unless we get that, I tell you what, we're being sold out like a pup. That's what the Prime Minister is doing to us in Chester. They're selling us out like pups. It's humiliating. I feel it humiliating, and so do many others out there, that we're not good enough to have a Royal Commission because you don't want your departments trashed, and they will be trashed out there. That's Department of Defence and DVA, because they've been in this culture of bullshit for so long, and this is why it's taking lives. This is why suicides won't slow down. They won't get less, and they'll only get more because you only want partial of the facts to come out there. You'll get about 10% about what's going on in those departments. Where's the other 90%? The public needs to hear about what's going on, because if they haven't learnt it from me yet, they'll be absolutely shocked to hear what else is going on in there, because it is absolutely disgraceful.
So we're going to hear a lot more about this in the coming weeks and months, I suspect, Jacqui.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's I have to say it's probably hurting the government with their negotiations with me at this point in time. I'll be brutally honest about that. Yeah. So if they're listening to this, because no doubt they will be, they might want to have a good bloody think about what they're doing. I've been calling for this for 6 or 7 years, and like I said, it's not because we want it, it's because we bloody need it. Yeah. You know? And what else I need is I need Labor to stay on the line. I need Labor to say, get stuffed. We're not voting for your half-baked bullshit that you've put in front of us. And these people who have served, these people who have tried to take their life, these people have been bullied, abused and harassed. It needs to go to a Royal Commission. So Labor needs to stay firm, because if the Greens and Labor stay firm, and obviously Central Alliance and Rex Patrick over this side, they won't get their commission up, their interim commissioner or commissioner up. And I'll tell you what, I'd rather not have it, because that will cause more harm. So
you're getting support from the Labor and the Greens as well?
Yeah, and Central Alliance and obviously Rex Patrick. So as long as they stay on the line, One Nation has skipped. They've gone wayside. They've said, no, you veterans can just have a half-baked dish. They've done that as well. So they're voting with the government. We do not want this. I'm not letting you sell yourselves short anymore. We're not doing this anymore, because it causes more harm. Yeah. We'll never get to the reasons why this is happening. We're losing people every week.
Every week we're losing people.
Every week. And they're ending up homeless, you know, because they're under financial strain. They're splitting up with their families. Their kids are paying the price. It's enough. It's enough, mate.
So, Jacqui, the train has sort of left the station with this a little bit, hasn't it, though, because there is the Senate inquiry into the bills establishing the Office of the Commissioner. Is that sort of signals that this is all too late, or we still?
No, not if we don't vote for it. And I can tell you what, it's all too bloody late. When you only give a month or 3 weeks for those, or a very short time for those submissions to come in, you know, that's cover up to me. You are covering up. The less it comes in, the better. You don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think so. What it means is, like I said, if Labor, Greens, Central Alliance, Emirates Patrick and myself stay on the line, they don't get their interim commissioner and they don't get a commissioner. So then that puts the Prime Minister back in the box and say, well, mate, if we're that bloody important, then give us what we want and give us a Royal Commission. That's where we're at.
So I think a lot of us are getting sick of, we've talked about this a fair bit in Australian Veteran News. We're a bit sick of the jingoism and the thank you for your service platitudes. Let's get some real conversations happening and going and sort of stop with the I guess the the feel good sort of stuff, and let's get into the real issues, because we need to, and there's a lot more to coming through, as you know, and there's a lot of hidden issues that are still yet to emerge, and I guess there's probably many people who've fallen through the cracks from previous generations, and that's of a major concern, because we will never know.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. So let's talk about real people. Julianne Finney was on Q&A a few weeks back, and she's a great hero in this story, because she's just got this incredible courage to push the issue and open everything up. And I know she features on a video on your website, which I encourage anybody, if they're not sure what this is all about, just watch that video. Make sure you've got a box of tissues with you, because it's absolutely compelling and it explains it extremely well. But she was on Q&A, and she asked Darren Chester the question, what is this government afraid of in having a Royal Commission into veteran suicide? And it wasn't particularly well answered at all.
No, he tap danced like a bitch, mate. Let's be honest. He's shameful.
Yeah.
And the reason that we need this Royal Commission is because we need it played out in the public arena, because the public needs to put pressure, it needs to put pressure back on the government to make sure that they do the changes. Like I said, when you've got a productivity commission out there, and it's now been 18 months since you've had those recommendations, and you've just decided to make yourselves look good before this commissioner comes in to chuck a couple of those and get those actioned, that shows me you don't give a stuff. You just don't give a stuff, or you have no idea how to manage the situation.
What do you think they're really deeply afraid of?
I think they're deeply afraid of that these government departments, they're going to be hung out to dry, because everyone's going to be out there telling the truth, and what it's going to show is how chaotic Department of Defence or the military are when it comes to looking after their own, when it comes to medically discharging, when it comes to making sure their claims and that they can walk out the gate without all that hanging over them. And what DVA is doing, this will all come out in the open. And if they think what they've heard so far has been bad, wait till you hear the rest of it. I mean, you and I, we're involved in it all the time. It's second nature to us, right? We know this. We hear the same stories over and over again. And this is what the public needs to read. And I don't give a stuff if executive public servants that are on $750,000 a year get taken out. I don't care, mate, because they shouldn't be in there.
Well, it's a real challenge, because one of the things these departments just don't seem to be able to perform, and one of the problems, I think, is that we as you've highlighted, we keep bringing in, I'll use your way of saying it, the top brass into the public servants' jobs. So we've got people who've never really properly run anything outside of a bureaucracy, really, in all honesty. Let's be clear about it. And we're expecting them to do something innovative to solve this problem, and it just doesn't seem to be happening.
No.
And
you know what I do, mate? When you're part of that institution for as long as what those officers have been, they're by their duty, it is institution first. So, nothing's going to change. Well, you think that interim commission is going to change overnight, do you? Do you think Liz Cousins is going to change the way that she operates? They don't know any difference, mate. It's all about the institution and cover up at all costs. And it doesn't matter if it takes someone else's life that's worn that uniform in the meantime. And they sure as hell, the last thing on their minds is giving us stuff about their own diggers.
The other thing that worries me about the whole idea of the commission is that it's just set up with a they're driving looking in the rearview mirror.
Mate, it's got a third of the money chucked into it as what the Trade Union Royal Commission did. So if that shows you that they're serious, like I said, they can go and cut that money. So if that commissioner did have the guts to come out and be honest about what was going on, the interim commissioner, and stepped out of line, I can guarantee they're going to get budget cuts by the start of next year.
But what I'm thinking about, though, and I'm not really quite sure what my thoughts are here, but you've got somebody who's appointed at the interim commissioner who's a coroner, used to doing investigations, looking at things after they've happened. there's not a lot of progressive, okay, we've got to do something innovative to, in terms of prospective solutions to these problems as well. And it's a bit of a worry that, I guess, number one, the status of the commissioner compared to that of a Royal Commission, and their ability to focus on driving changes that are needed, because we can sort of go back, and one of the things that I've heard Julianne say, well, everybody sort of says, yes, that's so sad, and then does nothing new. And it's a real problem that we're not doing anything particularly new.
I'll tell you what, she has been absolutely incredible. She's driving this. I'm just, because I've got to get my head around Tasmanian, and there's other legislation. She's driving this hard and fast. And it's me, it's Julianne driving this, and we're just throwing every bit of resource that we possibly can, whether it's helping with ads, whatever. The courage of that woman, and to keep standing up and to sit there after you've seen the courage and tell her, especially coming from a Prime Minister, that you're pretty much going to get a Royal Commission, and then go and bitch slap her like this. And she may be one of those ones that can't go in front of that commission and talk about her son either, because of the time limits, because of the time, that the duration they're going to do it over. Like you said, why aren't we going back to our Vietnam veterans? They've only all just got all their claims sorted out in the last 5 or 10 years, taken them 50 years. I do not want this next generation that went to the Middle East fighting like tooth and bloody nail, fighting like hell, like our Vietnam veterans did. And that's exactly what these bastards are making them do. They're repeating their mistakes all over again.
And and military folk, I would say, just as a general sort of thing, don't really like the DVA bureaucracy is just impossible to deal with, and a lot of it falls back on to the veteran community itself to help each other, because we're not getting the support that actually should come from the government. I mean, those systems and processes are designed to support veterans from the government as part of the community response to their service. But it fails. So you actually have to have good ex-service organisations to actually help veterans through this incredible maze of paperwork and bureaucracy that just doesn't make sense to most people.
Yeah, and I have to be honest with you, that's not helping either. I mean, back with the Vietnam veterans, they split in two, the VVFA and the VBA, right? At least they only split in two. We've got hundreds of them out there, and they're all fighting over chicken feed, which is making my job a hell of a lot harder. And then they go, we don't want to say anything, Jack, or give you anything, because we'll have our funding cut. So they need to determine, some of those organisations out there, those service whose side they're on. But you're not sitting on the fence anymore. Yeah, you're not sitting here worrying about your little bit of chicken feed instead of going up against the government, because this is called divide and conquer. So it makes me wonder: did you learn anything from your military service? Because that's what they're doing to us.
Yeah. There's a real problem too. I mean, you look at, just talking about the Vietnam veterans organisations. I mean, we've been doing a lot of stories because I'm in Victoria, and we're very connected to the Victorian veteran community, and we're looking at RSL Victoria, but we've also, spoken to Western Australia and others. And one of the issues with those organisations is they've got there's a national statement in support of the Commission with a couple of questions and whatnot, but they've never really engaged with their members properly about what they really think and feel, because if they did, I doubt that they would actually have that advocacy position that they've taken. And so there are, I think for the community to think that the RSL and others are looking after this, well, the reality is they're not. And we need to...
the National RSL, with its new president, had an opportunity to put itself out there this time around. Instead, it said that we'll take the interim commissioner. They're representing us. This is why many of us have turned our backs, and I'm not talking about the rural and regional little RSLs that are out there surviving with their one advocate or whatever. I'm talking about these big city ones and the National RSL. You have let us down. You did this to the Vietnam veterans when you stopped them going in the RSLs, but you don't need to ask us to not go into the RSL, because people like me, we don't go into them anymore because I have no respect, and there's thousands of us out there, mate. They had the perfect opportunity to stand tall and stand by the diggers, and what do? They blew it out their arse.
Yeah. I just want to go back for a second, Jackie, to that Q&A episode, because I was really intrigued. And one of the things that occurred to me is when Chester fumbled with his answers back to Julianne, I sort of wondered, is he really believing that? And do you think he may have been rolled by Scott Morrison on the Royal Commission?
Yeah, they do as they're told, mate. I can tell you now, the Nationals only have so many members. The Nationals can't stand on their own 2 feet. And what it goes to show is Chester just doesn't have the guts, and he doesn't have the decency. He should not be there. I think we've had 6 or 7 different ministers in the Department of Veterans Affairs in the last 10 to 12 years. If that doesn't show you instability, I don't know what does. That's what I'm saying. It's the executive public service that's running it.
Yeah.
It's the people like the secretaries, the CMOs in there. They're all running this shit, mate, not the minister.
So what do we need from the likes of Darren Chester now? What should he do? I know
Well, Darren Chester should bloody should grow a spine and stand up and be bloody honest and say, actually, Prime Minister, I don't agree with you. We need this Royal Commission, and my department is in a shit fight. There's no other way to put it. And if Darren Chester can't see that, then it's about time we put his resignation in.
And I suppose,
quite frankly, if you're going to bend over without standing after the diggers and those who have fought for their bloody country, then piss off. Go away. We don't want you.
And I suppose this interview and other events around Australia and media about it in social media and the grassroots level type stuff is showing that this issue is not going to go away. The likes of Julianne and many others like her who are prepared to stand up, they're not going away, and they're not going to give up on this fight. So, Jacqui, can you tell us about your call for a Royal Commission, the campaign that you're running through your website, and what you're hoping to get people to do to support, and I guess even understand it, simply to understand it?
Yeah, so you just go to the www.Lambie Network. Look, Julianne's video's up there, obviously. I just watch it once because we're quite attached to her, and just makes me bloody cry. You know, being a mother myself, I've got a son that's serving as well. Sign the petition in there. There's a sign the petition in there, and also there's a space where you can actually email. We've set it up so you can quickly just email your local MP. So if you email them, let them know that you just do not want this. I want to say this to you all. I don't know if this window of opportunity will ever come up again, but we need to stop that interim commissioner and the commissioner going through, because I'm telling you what, we fought too bloody hard and come too far, and you've fought for your country for too long, and many have lost their lives because of that, and we deserve nothing less than a Royal Commission.
Well, Jacqui, we're going to support that. We'll give the details also at the end of this video, or with the video, and we'll put a little tile up on our site so that people can easily, if they come to it, they can easily see the link to the videos and that page that you've just spoken about. So I think
the other thing is, mate, the public's been quite generous to us too.
Yeah.
So you should see radio. I'm not sure if we have the TV ads, but certainly radio and a couple of newspaper ads starting to run over the next few weeks as well. I don't take from those big lobbyists, unfortunately, so I've got to rely, but the general public is pretty good to me. If they give me $5 or $10, it all adds up. So that's starting to tick over, so we'll be able to use that very, very shortly, and we've got those ads and that ready to run. So we just sort of had to come up with the money, and so we'll run with what we've got.
There's a movement here building very clearly, and it all comes from the strength of people like Julianne and yourself, and people who understand the issues and really need to share what's going on. Just as a final sort of a closeout question, Jacqui, what would you say to those people who are sort of still sitting on the fence and undecided about the need for a Royal Commission into veteran suicides?
Yeah, your days of sitting on the fence are over. You're on one side or the other. The window of opportunity is only going to last for so long. So if you don't want to back a Royal Commission, then have the guts to show that you're not backing it and come out and say it. And that goes for all you service organisations. Or get over this side with me and Julianne Finney. Do the bloody right thing so we can get the answers. Because right now we're in dire straits. And the other thing is, mate, just quickly before I go, is the advocacy. Okay, we're losing all our Vietnam veterans, and they were great at advocacy. They've been in it for a long time. My generation's really finding it difficult to step up. First of all, the law. It's not just the, you've got 5 acts that you're following now. It's not just the Vietnam veterans one. So it's just getting really difficult. And some of those, and I will say this now, I want this out there to you advocates, if you bugger up a claim, unless I can get notification of it, people are now starting to look at suing you. So this is where we're at. And you know what? I think DVA is loving it. So unless DVA is going to give you provisions where you cannot be sued in the future, I would suggest that you get out of the game, because that's going on. So I want to get that out there today, because some of these claims are getting really, really mucked up, and they're mucking other people up. And it's not on purpose. It's just that legislation is really, really difficult. And until we scale that all into one, into one lot of legislation, this is the way it's going to be. So I just want people out there, especially you advocates, and I'm not trying to alarm you, but it is getting to that point now, unless you have something in place for the DVA that you cannot be sued, which I'll be making sure that you do very, very quickly, you could find this starting to open up as well, which is not going to be pretty.
All right, Jacqui Lambie, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your passion and for joining us at Australian Veteran News.
Yeah, just keep fighting the good fight, mate. Just keep fighting the good bloody fight. Stand there, but no more sitting on the fence. Let's go.